a shoestring budget, but that just felt huge in scope and the idea. And so already when they said, well, we have a next movie, being a producer, of course I had to read it, and right away, and I think what you saw, the amazing part what we're all talking about, what you saw on screen with this amazing cast, that really was on the page. We all really signed up to make this film, so it was a chain letter that everybody got involved with, because we all wanted to make a movie with this scope that was entertaining, but that was about something, and that hopefully can resonate in people's lives and also be entertaining.
So we have a few minutes for questions from the audience. Sure. You.
At what point did the WikiLeaks blow up impact you? At what point were you in writing, and what effect did it have on you?
Great question. He asked, at what point did the WikiLeaks leak or situation influence us, and where were we in our writing process? I can't answer that specifically because I don't quite remember WikiLeaks, but I remember the BP oil spill very clearly because we had written the beginning of the movie, which is an oil spill at the CEO of an oil company's summer estate. And then the BP oil spill happened, and I called Brit up, and I was like, I think you should find an internet and get the news or whatever. You should see what's happening right now. And Brit was like,
I was like, I already saw that. No, but we had literally just wrote that piece, the opening of the film, and then that happened, and then it felt like, honestly, the entire time a race to make the movie, because we felt like we were onto something that was happening around us, and we wanted to give voice to that. I think it was a week maybe before we started shooting, Occupy Wall Street happened. So we were literally in Louisiana, getting everything together, about to start shooting, and then that sort of blew up in New York, and we felt like we were sort of just catching the tiger's tail and trying to reel it in before it sort of entered the mass culture.
Yes?
I did not see a bad acting performance at all in that movie. Everybody was superb. I just wanted to know how long the casting process took.
The question was admiring how great the acting was, top to bottom in the film, and asking about the casting process.
Alexander Skarsgard, would you please play Benji? Ellen Page, please do our movie. And then my favorite part was we were driving around Shreveport, and it was very important to me that we got someone very important to play Paige Williams, who was the woman, the pharmaceutical vice president, because I thought it all hinged on that performance, and it's a small thing. So I was like, who's my favorite actress that I haven't seen in a long time? And I was like, oh, Julia Ormond. She'll never do it. And when she did it, it was just a testament to these guys. It was like, we just got these amazing actors. I didn't do anything. I just rolled the cameras, and then got mad at the DP sometimes.
Yeah, but he's being humble, obviously, because it's not that often where, a script shows up and you read something that incredible, and so he's being humble right now and have the opportunity to be involved with something like that, so.
Your Searchlight was behind you you made it with Fox Searchlight, is that correct? So you had them behind you at the get-go because they had picked up some of my voice, which probably helped you perhaps reach people or a little bit.
Yeah, definitely, it gives you more awareness. But really, I think the reason the performances stand out is because we would stay up late after we finished shooting and work on the scene. Do you remember that time we were on the floor of the living room? The costume designer was bringing some anarchist clothes that they'd found in Shreveport that they'd rented off of people in Shreveport because they couldn't make the real ones look real. One of them had, they had rented, I'd given them $600 to go down to New Orleans and rent some real anarchist clothes. And they came back with these trash bags of clothes. And Alexander, Brit, and I were in the corner, working on the scene, and Alexander's so in it, and I'm just watching him going through the clothes, and one girl was like, okay, well, we're gonna launder these clothes. I was like, do not touch these clothes. That smell is that anarchist smell we get.
It is a very distinct smell. That hoodie that Izzy wears a lot was one, and it had that smell, and it had old pretzels in the pocket. It was genius, so I had a great snack.
But that's kind of how we spent our weekends. We turned into the East, other than we didn't kidnap people and stuff like that. But on weekends, we would all get together, and the dance sequence, we would cook together and rehearse that and play around with it. And also, like Zol said, it was such an amazing script, but we still worked on it a lot. We would still get together on a weekend and be like, all right, we love this scene, but let's change it. Let's play around with it. What happens if we go like this direction with it? And that doesn't quite work. So we would just sit around on the floor and just like play around with it and improvise and think about it. And even on the day, I mean, it's a dream for an actor to work with a director and have co-stars like that, where it's so playful and so fun and so organic. And also to Zal, I mean, it's so inspiring the crew he got together. It's quite unusual to have a grip, like crying behind the camera, or you know, like an AD, like after a take, like, well, you know what? You should, like, everyone was so involved and so invested in the project. It wasn't like people weren't like, oh, what time's wrap tonight? People cared so deeply about it, which made it amazing. So much fun for us.
Well, that's interesting. How did you pull your crew together? Was it in some way were you able to use people that aren't as jaded, or was it just they were swept up in the process that you created, of the environment you created?
Thanks for asking that question. Actually, I told Michael something that was important to me. I was like, if we're going to make this movie with a studio and with Michael ran Scot-Free, which is Ridley's company, and so I said, if we're going to make it with these people, it's very important that our crew, that there's something generational about this film, that it's young. And so let's get a DP that's young. Let's not, sometimes with younger filmmakers, they like to pair you up with a veteran DP who's like, I hate digital, but we gotta shoot it. And it's like, no, I want a guy who grew up with digital like I did, like who gets it. And so we got this young Russian DP who was amazing, named Roman Vasinyov. And he was like my brother. We were inseparable. And then we met Alex DiGirolando, who was our production designer. And Alex is just this phenomenal guy. And the studio was like, well, he's only made one movie, he has one credit. I don't think we can use him. And I was like, please, guys, please. And so I call Alex. Alex was in New York. I was like, Alex, let's just make a presentation together over Skype. We'll make a presentation and we'll show it to the studio. So we made this presentation. He stays up all night and finds these references that are amazing off Tumblr, off all these things. He goes out and shoots photos. We make this presentation and the studio is won over. And then, his first film, the only film he'd done other than ours, comes out. And the studio ends up buying it at Sundance. And that movie is Beasts of the Southern Wild. So it's about tapping into young people. And then we had this amazing editor, Andy Weissblum, who was just an inspiration and taught me a lot about filmmaking. And then Andy had to go make Noah, and we still had a lot of work to do. And so Andy goes, you know what? I was going to set you up with this editor or that editor, but you know what? Because I like you, Zal, and I like all these people so much. I'm going to call up my mentor, the guy who taught me everything, and I'm going to invite him and ask him if he wants to come work with you. And his name is Bill Pankow, and he's right there. Bill, please stand up. Bill edited Brian De Palma's films, and so I continued to learn from actually Andy's mentor, so it was a very nice experience. So yeah, the crew was amazing. We got very lucky.
It's funny, the Beast reference, we actually had the DP on a film called Drinking Buddies that we premiered the other night. That's his follow-up to Beast. It's nice, it was great for everybody. All the way in the back, the blue shirt. Yeah, you. Mm-hmm.
So I did notice some product placement in the beginning of the movie, and I was wondering if that was intentional, and if there was an intentional irony there, and that like she's eating McDonald's,
The question is about product placement. Intentional, not intentional?
Yeah, do you remember we wrote McDonald's into the script? All the products were written into the script, and then we had trouble getting the products, right? So it was definitely written that she rips her arm with a Coke can, but Coke said no. Yeah, that was the irony. So we made a fake Coke can. What was the product you noticed?
McDonald's.
Yeah, exactly. All of those, they would try to, on sets they usually cover the label, and I was like, nope, show the label. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead up there. Go ahead, standing. You standing, yeah?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, say that?
The question is, a lot lot of terrible things happen to Ellen in the movie, and the asker said one of her biggest fears is getting buried alive, and she wondered for Ellen, what was it like for that to almost happen to you?
Oh, yeah, or like the experience of shooting it, is that what you mean?
Yeah, well, you're actually in the pit.
I was in the pit, that was the first shot on the first day, and and it was very, very cold, and I was completely naked, and some poor woman was like putting flowers all around my vagina. And it's like, nice to meet you, like florist or whatever, what's that term? Florist.
Florist.
Thank you. Flower doctor, I don't know. Virginia flower designer, I don't know. And, yeah,
And 12 people were staring down at you in the hole for 2 hours.
but it was cool. Like, sometimes what's so cool about this job is like you're lying naked in like a deep hole in the ground, and you're freezing, and like your body's shaking, and you're like looking at the side of the earth, and you're like, wow. Probably in no other circumstance would I have like the opportunity to just like feel this moment right now. So really, there's something really, really cool about that, and really beautiful about that. And what's cool is when your body is shaking that much, and then at action, you're still, and then cut, you start shaking again, and you realize like the power of the mind. I'm getting like really intense right now, but that is my answer.
Well, it was also very inspiring. Like Ellen said, that was the morning of our first day, and everyone is there like, all right, we're shooting an anarchist movie. All right, this is gonna be cool. And I think Ellen just set the tone. Like when she came up butt naked, jumped into that 6 feet under, and just like it was freezing cold, and she was just still there. And it was such a, well, you can see it in the scene, but it really got to us. We were standing there around that hole, and she looked so vulnerable, and she was dead.
The next day, when we had to bathe each other, it was like nobody could be like, oh, I'll take the nudie cover, or like, you know, could I have a warming tent? It was like everyone had to get naked, get in the water, and like scrub each other down because Ellen kind of did it on the first day.
I just love getting naked.
Yes. The question is, it was a Marvel screenplay, so advice for aspiring screenwriters.
Oh gosh, I mean the thing that comes to my mind first, though, I don't really know, is that we wrote a lot of bad stuff first. I think you have to really be not afraid to write a lot of really bad things and show them to people who will be like, this is really bad. And then still like go back to the library and keep reading screenplays and keep trying to crack a story. I feel like one time we came up with a good metaphor for it. It's a little bit like trying to break in a horse, and it's like a wild horse, and it keeps bucking you off, but one day you break the horse in, and then your brain begins to think in narrative structure, and then after that you can write a screenplay a day, no problem.
But it's also that we're in progress. I mean, that's the funny thing. I've been watching Girls. Do you guys watch Girls? The TV show? Yeah.
We premiered it here last year on this very stage.
Right. And it's funny to watch Lena Dunham like grow as a filmmaker, as a writer, like before our eyes. And it's the same with us. You know, our first 2 screenplays have been made into movies, and we're growing. So I don't think you have to remove fear from the equation, and you have to just go do it. Trust yourself, and then get really great partners to come on board. This guy, you know, who'll support you.
This is great. We're letting this go a little bit because it's the last big screening here at the Paramount. It's the last screening of the event. So we're gonna just go with it. If you guys are okay with that, welcome once again to
You guys seem so in sync, and I saw the sound of your voice. I actually had no idea that this was your movie, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. But anyway, you guys seem so in sync, and your writing is just so good. Like, how did you guys meet each other? Was it just like automatically like we need to work together, or was it more gradual?
Brit and I met each other on a day like this. The first movie I ever made was with my best friend Mike Cahill, the director of Another Earth, and it was a short film we made in college, and we won the grand prize when we were dragged up on stage, and there was a standing ovation being led, and it was being led by a 17-year-old Brit. She was in the audience like right over there, and I remember seeing her being like, Mike, that girl looks like, you know, an angel.
And they were cool seniors, and I was like a lowly freshman with no friends that nobody would talk to, and I stalked them around campus. And I had a friend who was like in an econ class with Mike, and I got him to introduce me. And I was like, hi, I'm Brit, I am a photography major, and I thought I could bring lights, to your next set. And he was like, yeah, gotta go. And then I found Zal in a supermarket, and he was buying juice and really taking his time selecting the juice. Grapefruit, no, orange. And then I tapped him on the shoulder, and I was like, hey, I was wondering, could I help you with your next film, do sound or something? And he kind of looked at me, and he was like, maybe you could be in it. I was like, okay. And then we started making little movies on campus together for no money, which is much how we made Sound of My Voice and Another Earth for also no money. So we had some practice in no money filmmaking.
We also take, out of like a 6-day writing week, we take 3 or 4 days to just work on building trust between each other. We say, like, how did you feel that Q&A? Like, did I answer questions okay? How did you answer questions? Like, we work on trust, and it's about getting the railroad open between us and clearing the tracks. And so we spend a lot of time, just polishing the track, making sure there's not even a piece of dust or whatever, so that on those 1 or 2 days when we slide the cargo back and forth between each other, it's nice and smooth. And, I'm excited to do our 3rd movie. I hope that happens one day.
The gentleman pretty far back in the, I think it's a gentleman, whitish kind of shirt. Yeah, you got your hand up, yes.
When you brought up the films of the 70s, there was a much more open-minded audience when it came to films like yours. I'm just wondering, is it getting harder and harder to get these quality films seen in this country?
The question is kind of about how the climate in the 70s was much more open in terms of, complex and nuanced films, I think is what he was saying, and talking about the climate now, how much harder it is to make these kind of nuanced, complex, perhaps even dark films in this climate now.
Just to get them seen.
Just to get them seen, not made, but actually seen.
Well, we'll see in a couple of weeks when it opens. I just know that I was just intrigued by it. It was a great story, great characters, and I cared a lot about all the characters and what was going on. And I'm an optimist. I do believe that there are people in this country and around the world that care about great storytelling and filmmakers like these guys that still want to go and see good work. Hopefully, I don't know.
Are you guys going to recommend this movie to your friends? I mean, it's up to you guys.
It's true, you really will make the difference. Twitter feeds, people really look at them, they really look at the social media that everybody has, and it happens very, very, very quickly, and you will make a difference. This is the film's 2nd screening, it debuted at Sundance. This is its 2nd public screening, so it's like the noise you make about it will affect everything about how it moves forward from here. So we just want to thank you. This was very exciting for us to have you.
Thank you, guys.